forward. I may or may not post this to YouTube. If you don't want to be on camera, you can turn your video off. Welcome, Diane. So why don't we do a round of introductions and just tell about your name, your location. I just found out that Bob and Michael, you guys are close by each other, so that's very cool. So that's kind of part of this too, is to figure out who you might find as allies. There might be some people here from California, you never know. So, and then after we do some introductions, we'll give you a little heads up about some of the stuff that we've been learning lately and take questions and like that. So maybe name, where you live, and any action that you've taken that you are proud of or embarrassed by, or either one. So I'll start. Let's see, I'm Albert Kaufman. I live in Southeast Portland, right near Stumptown on Division. And an action that I've taken recently, was to bring us together today. So I'm pleased with that. And I'll pick the next person, and you can just pick the next person when you go. So Kimmy, why don't you take it away?
Okay, hi, my name's Kim Isaacson, and I live in Southwest Portland, and I just stumbled across your website out of need, I guess. I have got a couple neighbors that hire crews that come in and blow the heck out of things, and one of the things that I did do is, or two things. One is I'm going to present to my neighborhood association, seeing if they might be an endorser of this group. And secondly, I did talk with one of my neighbors after a particularly bad blow where my stuff in my yard was all covered with dirt from the blowing. And anyway, he realized, oh, that's not such a good idea. And he talked with his crew, and they're now raking the part of his landscape that's adjacent to my house. So let's hear it for good old fashioned technology, the rake.
Okay, you want to pick the next person?
Yeah, I don't know, I can't see everybody's name, but how about the fellow with the hat on and the hats in the background?
I guess that'd be me. My name's Bob Robison. I live in Northeast Portland up on 4th. It's just off Fremont. I learned about you guys from, I think it's Michael. We both attend our state senators' regular meetings, and he shows up on a regular basis and argues for getting rid of these noisy things. So that's, so I've been tracking what you guys are doing, and I received an email, I guess, this morning describing this Zoom meeting and didn't have anything to do, so I thought I'd check in. I was particularly intrigued by the description of a conversation you had with a city councilor in Oakland, I believe, who passed an ordinance. And of course, it seems like the most direct way to address this would be to get a local ordinance, but I'm sure I'm not the first person to think of this. So I'd be curious to hear a report from you guys on what success you've had with that. I know you also proposed some state legislation that didn't I don't think got a hearing, if I could be correct. In terms of anything worthwhile I've done lately, I tend to just cross the street. Sometimes when I'm out walking, I turn away from a wheat leaf blower, and that's about the most significant thing I've done.
Okay, you want to pick the next person?
Sure. How about is Judy?
It's Judith. I'm Judith Ross. I'm actually a writer for Moms Clean Air Force, and I found your website and the course research I'm doing on there's a national trend toward electronic lawn care. So of course I live in Portland in Concordia near the Kennedy School. And of course I wanted to find out what's happening around here. I also hate anything gas powered, whether it's a lawnmower or a leaf blower, or that's just all too noisy and polluting for me. So I'm interested in hearing what you guys know about the ordinance passed by the city council for the city to transition, if that's actually happening, to electronic lawn equipment, and also to find out what you're doing here. And one of you, it might be Michael, I guess, may get some follow-up questions from me over email or phone, or so I noticed you're the contact. So
Great.
that's what
Thanks,
I'm doing.
Judith.
I've been writing for Moms Clean Air Force for about 10 years now, off and on. And it's a organization with over 1 million members that's focused on clean air and children's health.
Great. Maybe put a link in the chat for us.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. How about I'll just pick Diane? Why don't you go next? And you're muted right now, so let's see if we can. You're gonna have to start over. Diane, you're muted.
Didn't know I was unmuted. I first learned of all of this when I saw signs for rakes and brooms. And I was very interested in that because I always have hated the blowers. And I thought I wanted to start campaigning for rakes and brooms, but I've been out of commission for a few months. And so I'm just back into it now and got your email. I live in Northwest Portland, right near Montgomery Park. So Montgomery Park is sort of my backyard, and between me and Montgomery Park is a bank and a school, and all three of those use the gas-powered blowers. I have a video on my phone of the one right behind me going full blast, and I would love to do something about that. So I think I want to campaign with those three to try to get them off of their gas blowers.
That's great. Michael, you want to step up? You're on mute as well.
Creature of habit. Anyway, just thanks to Albert for organizing this, and thanks for all of you for taking some time this morning. I've been working with Albert and with others. For me, it's 4 years now that I've been working to eliminate gas leak blowers. I started out as kind of Don Quixote out there trying to tilt windmills, but over that period of time, indeed, as Judith says, it has grown into a national movement. And I could go on longer than you want me to about that. But locally here, we did, yes, Judith, have a resolution passed to eliminate all handheld gas leak blowers from city bureaus and their contractors. We have yet to receive an accounting of that. Our champion, Commissioner Nick Fish, tragically died 3 weeks after getting the resolution passed. And it's been passed around. It went to the county. They were going to do a work group, but then it was the pandemic and the wildfires and racial reckoning and economic issues, and we fell down the list. We did go to the state twice, 2011 and, 2019. Pardon me, 2019 and 2021. Did get hearings both times in the House Energy Environment Committee. Good press, good visibility, good credibility, but nothing moved onto the floor for a vote. We did get the Department of Administrative Services, thanks to a couple of active members, Brian and Judy, that got their procurement such that any gas-powered, state-owned lawn and garden equipment that shows up for repair will be junked and replaced with electric, and that all of the all of the gas equipment will be transferred into electric equipment in a 5-year period. So that was our non-legislative win with the state. We're back with the county now. We've got great hopes that there will be. We've been working with Commissioner Vega Peterson for what, Albert, 2.5, 3 years now, and making steady progress as part of her public campaign that she wants to do away with gas leak blowers countywide. So we're trying to get a work group convened, authorized by the council to study that issue and hopefully to implement or to put forward a proposal to the county to eliminate gas leak blowers by anybody. You can't do the sale apparently, but you can do the use of leaf blowers. You can't tell Home Depot what they can and cannot sell, but you can prohibit the use of, and Oakland just did that. Who is it that mentioned that? Was that you, Bob? And yes, we did have a very fruitful conversation with a very no-nonsense politician down in Oakland who gave us some guidance on how to move forward with that, and Albert can speak more to that. But I won't take up too much more time, but my big win recently, the other part of my check-in, is that we just, this week, got Garden Fever on board as an endorser, and a strong endorser with great thanks from the owners, Lori and Richard Bulmer. And I'll place up on their bulletin board, always, I sent it to Albert, I should have had it posted here, but that we have I've jerry-rigged together a way that people can take our postcards off of and take them home. And so that we have a distribution point. They didn't want to do the countertop. But so anyway, that was our big success for the week. And I'm very glad to have a new endorsement. Kim, I hope wish you good luck in your neighborhood association. I'd be glad to help consult with you if that's of any use. We've done it, as you can see from our supporters page, with a number of organizations, and Albert's done it with his. He's on the Richmond Neighborhood Association. So, there's lots of work to be done. If people want to volunteer, we thank the volunteers. 10,000 door hangers got posted by 40 volunteers in a program that I could go on about too. But I'm talking too much. So anyway, so I'm available for Q&A. I'm available for consultation. I'm deeply committed to that. My wife says I'm obsessed, but we all got to have a cause, I think. And to Kim's idea about rakes, one of our mottos is "Make America Rake Again." So thank
you. Well, I will follow that, I think, with just some thoughts. And we did have a talk with City Commissioner Dan Kalb in Oakland, who just passed an ordinance there. And we've been having the experience we've been having in Portland, which is, we go down this rabbit hole and we try to, get a champion at City Hall to do something, or we try at the state, or we try at the county, or we try in our neighborhoods. And I think all of that has been valuable. I would say that just the work that some of us have been doing on Nextdoor, of just kind of continuing to stay on the issue and continuing to make the issue clear to people, has had a really good effect. I'm sitting here right at the moment. I've got headphones on, but I haven't heard a leaf blower yet today. And normally every day, 5 years ago, every day was leaf blower day, many times a day, often. And now I'll go days without hearing leaf blowers. So something that I've been doing, or we've been doing, has been having a positive effect, at least at the neighborhood level. And, that's great. And, hearing Dan talk last Friday, I was really struck by a few things. One is, if you have a champion at the whatever level of government who decides to take it, take the ball and run with it, oh my God, like he just basically, we would ask these questions like, didn't you, weren't you worried about running into opposition, or weren't you worried about, pushback? And he was like, no, we just made this legislation and, we gave everyone 6 months grace period and now they'll adjust. That's the price of doing business. I mean, it was so stark and sort of like, I think it took us all really by surprise. He wasn't budging. And then we were like, oh, well, didn't you worry about, the small businesses and how much of an impact that would have on them? And he was like, no, that's the price of doing business. Things change, people adopt. And so anyway, I could go on. We actually wrote a little up about our talk with him, and I think it's really influenced me a lot. And we'll see what our procedure is from here. But I think one of them, at least my own goal, is to find ourselves a champion, maybe at the county level, maybe at the city level, maybe both. Because going into the recent city council term, we had been talking with Mingus Maps about this issue. And I think it's possible we could get 3 votes on this. It's just a matter of finding someone at City Hall probably to carry it. Because I work on a few different issues in the city. I work on trees as well. And, You know, it's just it's just so incredible to me how slowly our city moves on anything. I mean, there's probably things that move very quickly, but some of the stuff that I care about, I mean, the tree code is a good example. You know, I've been working on the tree code for years, and it takes, you know, a meeting with the planning and sustainability committee that moves then to the some other committee that maybe then gets seen by the city council, you know, and it's just this ongoing thing that really just kills activists, if you ask me. And I think it has to do with our form of city government, but that's another discussion. So anyway, we've been doing all sorts of great work. Michael mentioned the door hangers that we passed around. Those, I think, had a variety of different effects. You know, I think it woke up a couple of people who received them, but it also got people coming to our website. And our email list is now at 1,000 people, which is no small, you know, thing. When we write out and ask people to write to the city council or you know, write to regarding the legislature, the legislative efforts that we've done, you know, that's a huge, huge potential impact. We have a very high open rate on our newsletter. I do email newsletters for a living, so I'm watching things like, you know, how many people open, how many people click on what, and it's very getting to 1,000 people in a couple of years is fantastic. We also have a social media presence. But I was going to refer to, we still have stacks of postcards. So if anyone is interested in sending postcards to your neighbors, they're available. I can either mail them to you or you can come pick them up from me, or we have somebody else in Northeast who has a big supply of them as well. And just recently we've got a couple of yard signs together. So those are going to go up in some of our yards. And I think, Diane, you mentioned rakes and brooms, and they're basically say this property is maintained by rakes and brooms. They're very sweet. So I'm looking forward to putting mine up. I just got it yesterday. What else is going on? I mean, the great news too is that, you know, while we're doing our work here, it's building all over the country. Like, we get contacted regularly by people in different cities around the country asking, you know, what do we do, and for advice. And so I think we're not only like working on the issue here in Portland, but I think we act as guides and Sherpas for people around the country. So, you know, I think we're making progress. I mean, personally, I just think they're so abhorrent that I wish people would just come to their senses and go, these need to be banned nationally, but we're not there yet. And yeah, that's just some input for me. I like Michael.
I wonder if any of you ever heard, I used to live down in LA, and I remember hearing down there that the emissions from garden equipment in Los Angeles area produced more emissions than all of the traffic combined in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Just the gardening equipment.
Yeah, I think the thing that I've been hearing is that level is true for California. And that, you know, it's not exactly one for one, but that it's close enough that it's significant. So if that's true, then it's probably true here too. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have good reason. Okay, so one of the things also that came up with the talk with Commissioner Kalb on Friday was that he really pushed the legislation forward as an emissions-based piece of he was saying, okay, climate change and human health and respiratory health, I'm just sitting here gasping as I talk, you know, should be reason enough to ban these. And we've been kind of under the impression, we in one of our efforts to push some legislation on the state level, we got pushback from an industry group that said, well, you can't say anything about emissions because EPA, and because you just can't do that. So we've been really focusing on noise for the last couple of years. But I think hearing Dan Kalb say, you know, we had no hesitation about talking about this as an emissions issue, and about, you know, the dust and the exhaust being a problem for the workers, particularly. I think that has sent me some I had sort of never gotten off of that boat, but I'd been a little bit quieter about it. But I feel like now that's given me more permission to keep mentioning it. It's not like it ever dropped off of our radar or off of our, you know, approach. but I think we did think in terms of noise when we talked about legislation. But I think we need to revisit that very strongly after seeing this legislation. Personally, I'd just like to get the legislation into the hands of every elected official around us and find one of them to say, yeah, that looks good. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Yeah, go for it, Michael.
I'm excited to see Susan Mace on.
Oh, yeah.
Susan is we were talking about working with Multnomah County, but Susan has made great strides. She and one other partner have made great strides in Washington County as well. And are you on?
Susan, are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm working remotely now as I am living at a fire lookout on the Idaho border for this summer.
Okay. Do you want to introduce
And I won't
yourself?
be back until mid-October. So what's that?
Do you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you're up to?
Oh, well, so I am trying to get something going in Washington County, and I've talked to the Board of Commissioners and made a small amount of headway. Now I'm trying to gear up to talk to individual landscapers and see and try to, first of all, add to your West Side list on your website.
Yeah. I wonder if you're cutting out because you're at a fire lookout.
Probably. If it's going in and out, you keep freezing on the screen.
Okay. Keep going if you want to.
Let's see. We also published an article in the local paper. That's about it so far. We got a few responses out of that, and I'm trying to gather in some help.
Okay, great.
And
Well, thank you, Susan. Yeah, we had a little note in one of our recent newsletters introducing Susan and seeing if anyone's in Washington County wants to join forces with her. And then also somebody raised their hand and said that they wanted help in West Lynn. And so I'm not sure how that went, but that was in yesterday's newsletter. So, Michael, you look like you wanted to continue.
Oh, just one other piece on Washington County. We were talking about getting a separate page in our website. Hopefully, everybody's been to the website, and it's more information than I could absorb. And there's a lot there, but to have a separate page for Washington County, maybe eventually Clackamas County, even with some considerations about the evolution of the website.
Yeah, I think that's possible. And I think a thing we're waiting for is from Susan, maybe to give us a couple paragraphs or something for us to put up there besides just your name and email address.
And a couple of maybe landscapers or yard care people and that we can add to the page of eco yard care people on the website too.
Yeah, we could have a Washington County section of that.
So anyway, just that. Thank you,
Yeah,
Susan, for being on the call.
Hey, Ruth, welcome. You're getting up to leave. Anybody that joined us that wants to introduce themselves, you're not on video, feel free to jump in right here and say hi if you want to. Okay. And Ruth, would you like to say hello and introduce yourself? Nope. You're on mute right now. I think there you go.
I'm with Gallagher. So I'm just trying to find out where the conversation is right now and what's going on. I was just back, my husband's in the health center. I was just back from visiting him. But so that's why I'm a little bit late, but I understand this is going to be on getting silent, hopefully more silent and more environmentally friendly equipment. Is that correct? Am I right?
That's us, yes. And what part of town are you in?
I'm in actually in Oak Grove outside Milwaukee in Willamette View.
Okay.
Is
that in your West Lynn?
No, it's on the this is on the east side of the river.
Okay.
You know where Milwaukee is. It's we're right next to Milwaukee.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so
All right.
it's we want to hear from Willamette View, which is a retirement place.
Okay. We had we kind of all did a round where we talked about different things that we're doing, and then Michael and I have both talked extensively about uh, the latest news on you know, the work that we've been doing in the Portland area. But welcome,
Okay,
and
Can
we'll keep
it would
talking.
be very helpful if you wouldn't mind. Just can you kind of, I'm sorry I've missed so much of it. Can you kind of hit the high points of what are some of the things that you're hoping to be working on or that you are working on?
Sure. I'll just do like, let's see. Well, we most recently I was talking about how we have postcards available for people to either hand out or mail to neighbors. We just went through the legislative session in Salem, and our bill that we were pushing to ban the use of gas-powered leaf blowers got a hearing in the Energy and Environment Committee. And we had a couple of people testify, and I think it's recorded. In fact, that we should definitely have that in an upcoming newsletter. That went really well. We worked with a guy down in California, Dan Mabe, who's part of, or who's the head of an organization called AGSA. And we also had Brian Stewart, who is the head of electrifynow.net. And I forget who the third person was that spoke. Was that you, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that happened. I have a feeling that the state legislature, like I was talking about Portland being a place where it's difficult to move things, I think the state legislature may even be a more difficult place to move things. Again, if we have a champion, and I think we do on the Senate side at least, it's a little bit easier. But even with a Democrat majority, you'd think that we would get more traction. But so far, I think partly it's the pandemic and it's the wildfires and this type of thing. And then in the city level, we've done some work. Right now, we're focused more on the county, Multnomah County, and trying to get a working group formed to look at the issue. We have a couple of different Multnomah County commissioners who are interested in the topic. I think we're talking to Commissioner Jayapal soon.
Yes,
Go ahead, Michael.
on Wednesday, we have a conversation with Commissioner Jayapal.
Yeah. Do you want to add in some more context or?
Well, no, you know what I'm looking forward to is, well, I see your hand raised there, Ruth, but I'm hoping we get some Q&A going here. It's not just talking, that we can have people asking questions or talking about what they're doing, or get more of a wider conversation going. So, Ruth, what was your question?
You mentioned Multnomah County. What about Clackamas County, which is where I am?
Clackamas is on the screen, but it's a much more rural county than either Multnomah or Washington.
Oh, yeah.
And we found at the legislature that it's the rural people who are the most likely to be in opposition to the idea of eliminating gas leaf blowers. And so our last bill in the legislature was had to do with the urban growth boundary, recognizing that people in rural areas, that it's much less impactful to them than it is to the people who are in tightly packed residential areas. And so Clackamas County is kind of third down the list in terms of the Portland metro area. We're focused big time on Multnomah County. 98.6% of Portland is within the urban growth boundary, the Portland urban growth boundary. And Washington County, as Susan just elaborated, is making great strides and has a very receptive ear over there, I understand. Clackamas, we haven't had a champion yet. If you'd like to work in the direction of seeing about getting a movement going down there, we would provide as much support as we could to help. It's a very localized. Lake Oswego is doing a fabulous job. As Albert said, West Lynn is working on it now. You know, Seattle's got their own movement up there. We've had inquiries from Vancouver, Washington. So it's a very localized thing, as well as a state thing, a county thing, and a national thing. So anyway.
Good to hear. Yeah.
Let me know. I'll post my my email, and if you want to reach out, I'd be glad to consult with you or anybody.
Mhm. Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions or thoughts you want to share? Bob, you're on mute.
I'd like to hear some more about the conversation with the city of Portland and even more specifically Multnomah County. You say you're meeting with the commissioner's office there.
Yeah.
But
Well-
what's the state of the conversation?
Michael, you want to field that?
With the city, I'm sorry, I was typing away.
Okay, so Bob was asking, what is the state of our conversations with Multnomah County commissioners?
Okay, all right, well, here it is. My best understanding is that we've been put off for a year and a half now with the intention, stated intention of both Commissioner Jessica Vega Peterson, who lives out in like 82nd area, that East County, and we've been working closely with her Director of Policy, I think is his title, Hayden Miller. And Hayden Miller has expressed to us his intention to, after budget season, which was like May and June, that he would return to the county commission with a request, a proposal to form a study group to examine, I'm sorry, I said I called it a study group, it's a work group to study the feasibility of eliminating gas leak blowers countywide, and if appropriate, forwarding a proposal to the county commission. So we're on a waiting game now. And I keep on, on this Jayapal this Commissioner Jayapal call on Wednesday, I've copied Hayden and Commissioner Vega Peterson in on it so they know we're moving, so everything is transparent. I'm very encouraged by the fact that the county commission is comprised of 5 very astute and in line with each other women who care about progressive issues and care about each other. And there's much less acrimony going on the county government level than there is on either the state level or the city level from my now 4 years of experience with interfacing with all of them for the first time. This is all new to me. This is like a master's level program in poli-sci, as I'm discovering all these, engaging all these governments. But I think to put a bow on your question, we're hopeful that within the next weeks that we'll hear from Hayden to the effect that Commissioner Jessica Vega Peterson is putting forward a proposal for a work group, and that's the door. And we might be asking you all for help, and that help would be to contact Commissioner Vega Peterson, or we're trying to get Commissioner Jayapal to sort of move it forward, speed the plow a little bit too. So we don't want it to drift back into the back burner again when we've been not promised, but the intention has been stated to request a study group at least to see about bringing some stakeholders to the table.
So you said it's good at the county level. That's both Multnomah and Washington County. Both of them are pretty good at the county level. Is that right?
Well, we're working primarily with Multnomah County.
Multnomah, okay.
We're trying to be supportive of what's happening in Washington County, but we don't want to add too much complexity to it. And so if we get something going as a foot in the door, I mean, frankly, myself, and I think a lot of us, our goal is not just the elimination of gas leak blowers, but it's the elimination of all fossil fuel powered lawn and garden equipment that pollutes our environment and causes public health and worker health issues. So that's the bullet points of it is, it's harmful to the workers, to the public, which including children and pets and, wildlife and pollinators and to the environment. And this 115-degree day that we had reminds me that we've got to pull all of the stops to stop burning fossil fuel. And so, some of us in our organization are going, no, we should do away with all leaf blowers like they do in some of the sort of the boutique towns down in California, which is fine, all well and good, but it's I think a bridge too far in terms of being fair and equitable to the small workers who rely upon some powered equipment to do their work. And, I like the idea of Make America Rake Again, but it ain't going to happen in a city of our size. Even Oakland, it's like the gas leaf blowers that they're getting rid of, not all leaf blowers. So anyway, I'm going on and on, man. I'm all cranked up on coffee and adrenaline and the joy of having you colleagues in this and welcoming you to the team in some cases. I don't know, I've been talking about it for quite a while now.
I would also add to that that we had a very steady group of a steering committee for 3 years. We would come to Michael's house. We would sit probably at the table that he's sitting at right now in a group, and we would eat baked goods, and we would and drink coffee and hang out for a couple of hours and plan our next steps. And we met every 2 weeks for a couple of years. And so once the pandemic hit, that stopped, but we did move to Zoom, and we have been doing monthly Zoom calls with our steering group. And given that it's summertime and given that people, their interest raises and lowers, we're always looking for people who would like to powwow with us. Seems like the absolute wrong thing to say, but to gather with us to, work at a deeper level. So if any of you are feeling drawn, we can make that happen. And we have for that, we have a Google group where, we share articles or we share thinking about next steps on some of the different things that we work on. And that has about 10 people, maybe 12 people on it now. So that's just an opportunity if you are looking to spend some time, really focused on this issue and work with others. We invite you to apply, and the application is really just contact Michael and have a conversation with him, and we'll get you involved and onto that Google group, which is really there's that Google group, and then if you're interested in noise issues in general, there's a group called Noise Free America that has a listserv that has hundreds of people on it, and people are very active. So you'll hear everything about jet skis and train whistles and airplanes flying too low. And I've just noticed that electric cars are now coming out with like noise that they make as they drive down the street. It's like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding, making cars noisier than they already are. But anyway, stuff like that, and leaf blowers and string trimmers and anything else you could think of. They're very noise concerned. And, there's also, I'm sure, groups that are involved in just like focusing on emissions. So there's, I'm sure, that too. Although I'm not really aware of one, like Gas Free America or something like that. Anyway.
Just a quick comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I think your strategy of finding a local government and an advocate within that local government to get something done for you is a perfect strategy, because once you get some action from somebody, then others will look around and see, in the neighborhood what's going on. So good luck with Multnomah County. Sounds like you're working in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that partly we're at Multnomah County. I mean, we sort of started there years ago by meeting with Jessica Vega Peterson because she opened the door to us. And then we have one of the members of our steering committee has some ability to knock on city council doors and have meetings and things. But we need to, maybe it's just me. I need to start making some calls to them and saying, look, it's not rocket science. City of Oakland did it. City of Oakland is, I don't know how much bigger or smaller they are than us, but I think of it as a pretty big city. DC did it. So anyway, if that interests you, like, definitely get in touch. I think there's that seems like a avenue that we've sort of let drop. And I'd like to pick it up again. So maybe I'll just be doing that. But I'm all for, I have always had this thought, like wherever we make the impact, wherever we make the change, it's all good. Like when we were talking to Commissioner Kalb down in Oakland, I was very impressed with, oh, well, we just did this, rubber, boom, it's stamped, it's done. We're 6 months into it. It's working. People are complying with the law. I was just like, oh God, that sounds like ideal. And I think the way that we've gone forward in having lots of different fronts, You know, we've talked to the school board, we've talked to school board members, we've talked to neighbors, we've talked to state representatives, we've talked to, you know, we've had press. So all of that is good, and it all has impact. We don't know exactly what the impact is, you know, so I feel like I'm sort of some like Hasidic rabbi with like, you never know what thing you do will have what effect, but all of it has been good. And where Dan Kalb and his legislation is very powerful, I think it's very powerful at the same time for my next door neighbor to have switched, you know, and so that's been going on for the last 5 years. So we've been doing great work, and you know, I think we should all be really proud. Everybody that's taken an inch of effort should be proud of what's happened so far. And, you know, I think we will feel really good when we get, you know, kind of on paper, this is actually the law now. And, you know, because I think that will have a different effect. That will affect the actual people who use these instruments, like both help their health, but it will also impact them by making them change what they're doing. And that will be good for them, and it will be good for everybody. So
I just wanted to say that, you know, I've only been on your website a few times, and then the other day I got the newsletter via email, and I was just impressed with the quality of the information that was presented. It's something that is, you know, for a small group, it feels very clear, organized, and professional, and I think that goes a long way to making people feel confident in the kind of arguments that are being presented. It's not a fly-by-night sort of goofball sort of thing. It's serious, but you know, it's clear, and I just commend you for that effort.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I so wish that I could do more, but I'm aged, and then my husband's in a nursing home, so I don't want to present a false front that I'm going to be out there doing a lot of whole things, because I'm probably not going to be able to. But anyway, I think it's a wonderful cause, and I'm glad to hear what you're doing. There's more that I could do.
Well, if you've got a computer, Ruth, you know, you're a valuable player on the team, because you can help send out notices to policymakers mostly, and help educate your neighbors. And I mean, there's lots of ways to serve the campaign from the seat that's in front of your computer.
Yeah, Ruth, I was going to ask, you say you're living at Willamette View?
Yes.
Do the groundskeepers there use the gas-powered equipment?
The grounds, in fact, I'm surprised nobody from this, they have a whole committee working on the situation here. They are using a rather notorious outfit, 7Ds, you know, 7Ds.
Sure.
And I think they are all gas fired, and of course I think financially they're probably a lot cheaper than anybody else, and so it's there've been a lot of efforts to push them, and really quite specific ones. They had gathered some sort of a fund that would further this cause, and and it hasn't happened yet. But there is a lot of concern and interest here, I would say.
You know, yeah, one educational piece that I could share with you, Ruth, and anybody else who doesn't know it yet, is that one of the arguments for a transition by landscapers is that the return on investment is enormous. Dan Mabe, who Albert mentioned from American Green Zone Alliance, did scientific studies, and for the mowers, it's a 10-to-1 cost savings once you get past the cost of acquisition.
How long does it take?
It takes, well, we figure it takes 1 year to 2 years for payback to pay off the equipment. And after that, it's all profit. there's less overhead because it costs 10 times as much, regardless of the toxicity issues, that the actual cost costs you 10 times as much to run a piece of gas equipment as it does piece of electric lithium-ion battery equipment.
So
They
what-
have, in the past, they have actually tried it out and it didn't work out. The equipment that they had.
Well, and
believe
that
it's
may have
been-
been in the past, but there have been enormous strides in the technology, the surge capacity and the storage capacity, thanks in large part to Tesla, I have to say. And so what may have been true 5 or 10 years ago is no longer true, that the electric equipment is up to the task of 95% of the work. There's a number out of the air, but a vast majority of the work
It's how long the battery is going to last between recharges. That seemed to be
right. And it depends. There's a whole matrix of variables there. So I don't want to get into those weeds, but it's to the point now where some of the electric powered batteries will run as long as a tank of gas. Let me just leave it at that.
So again, I don't want to get too deeply into the weeds, but I have two quick questions. What are the capital costs of replacing a gas-fired leaf blower with a battery-powered one? And then what is the amount of savings each year? You said it's a 1 to 2 year payback period.
Well, and then it's ballpark because there's different equipment that has different capacity. There's different batteries that have different capacity. So it's hard to pin down a specific number. My best estimate from talking with the arborist who just was at our house, and I said, well, what's it cost you to get into that piece of gas power, or I'm sorry, battery powered leaf blower? And he says, well, it's about $450 for this model. For the leaf blower, it's about $230 per battery, and you need a couple of batteries, and it's $160 for the charger. And he says, so that rounds out to about $1,000 to get into a basic model. And for 2 guys in a pickup truck, that might be enough. I mean, there's other companies, Clean Air Lawn Care, for example, is a great company. They have solar collectors on the tops of their pickup truck that run to marine batteries that run to a transformer that run to a charging unit in the back of their truck. And so they're solar powered for the large part. And so, the costs vary enormously, but there's no arguing that there's an enormous savings once you get beyond the cost of acquisition.
And did you say you had a paper that talked about that annual savings as well as the capital cost to get into it?
I don't have a paper, but I can refer you to American Green Zone Alliance, and you can reach out to them. We always like to promote Dan. He's a businessman, so it's a proprietary company. But Dan Mabe is got a lot of data. He's a scientist. He was a groundskeeper, and he's one of the champions nationally. He and Jamie Banks, who is the founder of Quiet Communities back in Lincoln, Massachusetts, are kind of the leadership at this point nationally of this movement.
It would really help if you could post some of that information on your website about costs of transitioning and whatever, so that those of us who want to approach somebody like Montgomery Park or whatever, we would have that available to us.
I do think if it's not on our website, it's on AGSA's website, which I did just post a link to their site. And
when you flash a message like that, I don't know how to save that information, and it disappears more quickly than I can write it down.
I just figured it out. If it's a website, then you just click on it and it goes to your computer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. If you could flash that again so I can click on it.
Sure.
And if you click on the chat button down at the bottom of your screen, at least it's on the bottom of the screen on mine, it'll show and you'll have some time to look at it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So I have a question regarding the current ordinance on noise in the city of Portland and approved equipment that passes the noise ordinance. I have been looking at my adjacent crews, and they're walking around with a still brand backpack blower of some sort, but it's impossible to, unless I was to go up, sneak up on them and say, hey, can you turn around? Let me see what the number is on the back of your equipment. It's not going to happen. And so what's a practical way to enforce the noise ordinance? If you suspect that it's above the decibel level, how can you get it enforced?
Albert's got this one.
Well, you can make a call to the city and you can make a complaint. And the challenge is by the time you've made the complaint, the person is gone. And so there's
Sure.
no way for them to show up. But the noise board is understaffed. I think it's one person.
Yeah.
And so that is a thing you can do. I think, we have a member of our group, Robert, who's really into the weeds on that one. And in our most recent newsletter, I think we had a little section on making a call to the city and, what that entails. But personally, I think that's a little bit of I don't want to say a waste of time, but that's not going to be definitely not going to be the way we solve the issue in a bigger respect. I would just focus elsewhere. I would focus on the connection you have with your neighbors or neighborhood association or city council, or, I would work on a little different approach. It would be nice if, we had a noise board that had, 10 people who did enforcement, or 10 people who did enforcement on any topic in the city, but that's just not really there. So that makes it, it's a challenging thing because people think, oh, well, there's the law and I ought to be able to enforce it. In fact, when we talked to Dan Kalb in Oakland and we asked him about enforcement, he said, yeah, we're never going to get to 100%. We're never going to get close to that. Like, there are going to be people who just flaunt just do what they're going to do. But more and more, as the law changes, the people will start complying with it, and they'll just know that's how they have to be working.
Yeah.
And so that's what we need to get to. I think an individual, and it might make you feel good. And I think if they get 300 complaints about something, they might be able to take some action, but it's very tricky. Yeah. It's like, the National Forest, during the burn ban, it was also a shooting ban. And yet I camped out there and there would be people shooting down the river, and there's one guy for the whole Mount Hood National Forest who's the enforcement. There's no way he's going to be everywhere at once. So we just had to talk to the shooters, which is lots of fun.
But let me encourage you to make the call. Get on record. The more people we can have calling in, the better. It's a very incremental process, as you well know. So
yeah, and city council, they do. If they receive 100 emails on a topic, it gets their attention. So
I did go so far as to buy a little sound meter. Mm-hmm. And I suppose what I could do is just, set it up and take a video of the meter as it's reading, and then send that into the sound or the board or whoever is the complaint people, and just say, this is what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And you don't even need to buy it. If anybody else wants to do a sound assessment, the NIOSH has a noise meter that's on my computer. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's the end down there in the corner.
Oh, okay.
And they record every time. I put it to the window if somebody's next door, and I get 50, 60 decibels from 50 feet, so what are they at their ear? They're probably over 90 decibels. It's logarithmic.
Yeah.
But anyway, there is a free app that was put out by NIOSH. I don't remember what the tag on that is, but it'd be easy to find.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And I would also say, I've been getting a lot of value from watching what groups who are maybe bigger than we are, who may not be working on our issue exactly, but like, for instance, Neighbors for Clean Air,
Mhm.
you know, is doing, they're focused on really big issues like, you know, power plants and diesel trucks and what is the emissions going on with those things. And keeping an eye on how they're approaching things and the different, you know, the technical aspects, I think gives me an idea of how one might approach that, like on a more urban, you know, on the whole city level, let's say, or regional, you know, like they're trying to get what are those things called? There's purple air. You know, when the fires were going on, you could see what the numbers were around us. So they're trying to get more of those devices spread out around the area so that people have a better idea that, oh, out by the airport, you know, you have a certain terrible air quality, whereas in Northeast Portland, you might not, you know, you might have a very different air quality. And why? Because we have a particular glass recycling plant, or we have a paint plant, or whatever the, you know, issue is. So I would recommend taking a look at what they're doing. And you know, there was this group that did a really good video on bike theft, of all things, and it's like the Vancouver, BC has figured out some stuff around bike theft that no one else, no other city in the world has figured out. And really, what they figured out was that you know, it's not just one thing. That if they can get like 5 different aspects of it, people focused on different aspects of it, they can actually bring the bike theft numbers down. They can retrieve bikes, but it took like a whole bunch of wrangling of people. And I think that's kind of the world that we operate in regarding leaf blowers, that it's going to take a lot of different efforts and, you know, pressure from different sides for it to work. It's not, even if we get legislation that says no more gas powered leaf blowers in Portland or Multnomah County, it's still going to take effort, you know, in different ways.
Education, that never ends.
Yeah.
I-
Ruth, go ahead.
I have to leave at noon. I just, I'm impressed that your enthusiasm and you're doing things, and thank you for what you're doing. I have to go now. Goodbye.
Great. Yeah, well, I think
Thank
that's
you.
a good moment for us all maybe to take off and get into our day. We've been here for an
Yeah.
hour. And if you have further questions, Michael's put his contact information there. I think we're always open to questions and input, and keep in touch, and let's have a quieter and healthier
Here,
Environment,
home.
yes.
here.
Thank you. Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All right, and I'll
Bye-bye.
see you at 3 today, Michael, right?
Well, you know what? I can't make it. I don't have a car. And so I need to
You-